when you get your offer right, it really does. It takes you places, you know. I don't know, 4 years ago, I didn't even really know what Airbnb was, to be honest. I didn't really know what it was. It was my friend that told me about it because he was doing it, and I had no idea, you know. And now I am forecasting. I think the trajectory I'm going on, I could possibly do £1 million in revenue from service accommodation next year, depending on what happens with COVID. But, you know, as long as all being well and market conditions go back to normal and the trajectory that we're on in terms of how many properties we're acquiring per month and how we're running the operation, I do genuinely believe that I can do that next year. So that's my target. And, you know, but several years ago, I didn't really know what Airbnb was, you know, let alone how to run it and do what we're doing now. So that was just by purely focusing on one offer at the beginning and really wanting to nail it all. And then I've put processes around it, and then we've scaled it like a bitch, you know, and that's what I continue to do. And we now are doing the same around HMOs, around our BNB portfolio, and then around all the other subsidiary businesses that we've got within the business, such as all the services that we diversify into because of the property side of things. So, but that was, you know, you can go from there to here, and you know, there's plenty of people who are ahead of me, done it quicker than me, and you know, are going to get better results than me. And you know, so it can be done. So whatever position you're starting from now, you can do it if you do it right. If you keep it simple, you focus in the right areas, you stop making excuses for yourself that you've got no time and you've got no money, and you actually start taking some action. Just like, you know, the people that I work with, you know, in the inner circle, in the tribe, they are all action takers, every single one of them, you know, and they're the type of people that I want to work with. But, you know, this document, I'm just going to show you some example posts. Just talk about getting out of obscurity. You know, it's really important, you know, that, you know, just get yourself known. Obviously, most people know me in service accommodation groups. Some posts get hardly any comments, but some get a lot of comments, you know, just 87 comments. That's 87 people, 310 comments, you know, eight comments, you know, so some get a lot, some get nothing, 56 comments, 14 comments, 31 comments, but, you know, 44 people liked, you know. So every time we're doing stuff, we're engaging with a lot of people. And that is what we're doing. And that's what I've done successfully over, I don't know, probably the last 2 to 3 years 2 to 3 years consistently. Dabbled in it prior to that. But, you know, just getting myself out of obscurity. Most people now, I would say that, you know, you're all on here because I got myself out of obscurity. You know, you're all interested in obviously something that I've done or I am doing or what I can maybe offer you. But, you know, that's because I got myself out of obscurity. And the more you do that, is the more, I'm a firm believer that money follows attention. So if you get yourself attention, you'll get yourself some money. That literally goes hand in hand. So, you know, get yourself out of obscurity, but do it in the right way. Don't be a total douchebag and just be like posting shit in groups and just posting crappy little adverts to pitch your business all the time and offering nothing else. Yes, it might get you one sale here and there, but it's not going to be sustainable and it's not going to help you grow long term. Think about the value that you can offer somebody else before you post anything. And if it's not offering value to somebody else, just don't fucking post it. Seriously, because you just come across wrong. It's just such a bad way of marketing. And, you know, when you start to understand that, you start to really see some changes in your business. The problem is the people that are doing that, they're the get rich quick mindset. They want to post something and get an instant cash flow return on it. They haven't got the patience. They haven't got the consistency in them to play the long game and build the brand. And the brand outlasts the quick fix. So, you know, make sure you got to build your brands out. When you build your brand up, you don't need the quick fixes. The leads start coming to you. You know, nearly every week now, nearly every day, to be honest, we get a message or I get a phone call about, can I do X, Y, and Z for them? Can I show them how to do this? Can I take over the, portfolio of properties for them because they're not working very well with X, Y, Z company? Or, would I like to buy this? Or I've got this portfolio here for sale. Would I like that? I'm not out there going, please give me. I'm just adding value out there all the time so people understand what I do. And if they enjoy it and they get value from it, then they can interact with me when they're good and ready. And that's what good marketing is. And that's the difference between building a brand that will sustain long-term and just getting a quick hit. And the quick hits don't last very long. So coming on to kind of like who your ideal client is, because this is hugely important. George, Zach, do you guys want to add anything at this stage?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, say with regards to your offer and all that sort of stuff, with the win-win, you'll find that even though you're supporting a win-win, a lot of the time it still won't be good enough for the landlords, the agents. But I must say as well, landlords are always a lot more open to offers and ideas than agents. Agents will shut you down anywhere they can a lot of the time. Just for the fact is they're not thick, it's just uneducated sometimes. For example, like rent-to-rent offers, subletting won't do it all the time. So don't worry about it. There is ways to overcome it, and don't get hindered by the rejection. Just keep on battling.
Yeah.
That is a definite thing as well. No's, you have to learn to get over no. It's not easy at the start, but you get used to it and you've just got to keep going. No's are part of the business, unfortunately, and you'll probably get more no's than yes, but you learn that is the process and you've just got to keep going. Don't give up because if someone said no to you, don't let it put you off. Just make that next yes your target, your goal, and your success, and go for it.
I would say 90-95% of the stuff that we do comes to nothing. Absolutely fuck all. So like you've got to understand, I think I totaled it up the other day looking back through some of the spreadsheets, but I think I've had at least 1,500, if not more, rejections in the last few years. So, that's every single one of them has been a viewing, every single one of them has been an offer made, and every single one of them said no. So it shows you like how much you've got to go through to get to where you need to be. But, you've got to be strong-minded and you've got to be able to push through, and you just got to accept it's part of the game. But I think, ringing estate agents cold and not building relationships and not adding any value, yes, you're going to get told we don't do it with subletting. Because at the end of the day, an estate agent, let's assume they're on a 9 to 5 with a bit of commission, and they can get a commission from selling or letting, and that's what they do. And they know they've got enough of that coming in, and they know they're going to find tenants and get the commissions. So why do they want to go outside the box? Why do they want to try something new and maybe look stupid in front of their boss when it blows up in their face or whatever it might be? So, there's bad ways to go to estate agents, but then there's good ways to go to estate agents. Like I've got some great relationships with specific estate agents who, feed me a lot of stuff. And over the years, I'm JV with one of them, so we do a lot together. And that is because I, coming on this kind of ideal avatar here, we want to be making sure that we're finding out what their pain points are and we're solving their problems. When you solve people's problems, you get a lot more in return. So, if we're looking at a rent-to-rent strategy, and that's just, a little example I'm using here, our typical client or our ideal client would be a landlord that's full-time in property, that isn't full-time in property, or an estate agent that isn't a huge franchise. Most of you might be ringing the big franchise estate agents. They're not the ones to be going for, or an investor who hasn't got the ability or the time to scale. So there's plenty of investors out there who have a lot of money, but don't necessarily want to put the time and effort into learning how to do BRR or anything like that. But they're quite happy to take a 8, 10, 12, sometimes 14% APR for their money, So they're the type of people, no worries, George. They're the type of people that are, our ideal avatar. So, we've got to enter the conversation that's going on in their head. that is the key to everything. You know, people are only ever moving in two directions. One is away from pain or towards pleasure. There's no other way that they're moving. You know, think about your own life. You know, if something breaks in your house, you know, that's a pain. So you've got to move away from it. You've got to go and find a solution to it. Or you might be moving towards the pleasure, you know, the pleasure of upgrading your house. You know, you're always moving towards it. You're never standing still. You either go one way or the other. So think about, and this is a good exercise to do, to try and really hone in on what your marketing message should be and what your avatar is and how you're going to solve people's problems to get results. And write down hundreds of phrases that you used to say to yourself before you solve that particular problem. So if you're a landlord yourself and you've got, say, and you want to angle on bad tenants or void periods, or, you know, I've got a few at the minute, like, I was speaking in the office before, and we've got a total fucking dickhead. He thinks he's a smart ass. You know, he doesn't respond to any emails. You know, he's not paying his rent. You know, so, you know, think of all the pain points around that, you know, the things you'd like to do to him, you know, all that sort of stuff, you know, how frustrating it is, how it makes you feel, you know, that this little smart ass thinks he's like trying to get one over and blah, 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 you know, no communication, you know, just think of all the pain points. They're the same pain points that landlords are going to be feeling, probably more so now than ever. So how do you then structure your marketing to attack those pain points but solve the problem? And when you start doing that and thinking this way, you start to make big moves. You start to get leads in the inbox. You start to get a lot more success from the conversations that you're having. Similarly with estate agents, all right? Estate agents have just been closed for 2 months prior in COVID. Obviously, they've had a boom in time since. But, you know, the littler agents were on the bones of their arse. You know, they needed the help. They, you know, might have lost landlords, blah, blah, blah. You know, what's the pain to their agency of doing that? You know, how can you solve that pain? So, you know, write it down. And the same for the pleasure side of things. You know, when you know, have a successful portfolio, or what does, you know, a stable portfolio of tenants look like? Or what does, you know, a good return for an investor, hands off, totally passive? You know, what are all the pleasures in that? You know, the increased income, total no hassle, you know, one company to deal with, blah, blah, blah. Write all those down. And then that becomes your angle of attack. So, you know, here's a few examples. So thinking about what they might think. So I'm constantly dealing with tenant issues. I don't know how to hire or who to hire. That's a business problem that a lot of people have. You know, I don't really know how to create a system and repeatable process for a team to follow. You know, I'm tired of getting shitty tenants. You know, this one here is predominant for people maybe struggling to run serviced accommodation portfolios. And they're trying to drag themselves out their operations, but they can't because they can't seem to put a stable team together. You know, I'm tired of getting shitty tenants. Comes down to probably a process and how you're hiring and recruiting tenants. I don't think I can take any more I don't think I can take any more on with all these issues. And I've had that phone call today, you know, that I want to scale, but I can't because I've got so many issues that I don't know what to do. So, you know, that's preventing them from scaling at pace. I was there, put myself in hospital, you know, acquired 21 properties in 7 months. Several years ago, and I smashed my head open and I burnt myself out, and I was like, I am done. And, you know, that was because I didn't know how to put a team together to enable me to process everything, run the operations efficiently, but then continue to scale. Thankfully, I figured it out and I managed to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and it allowed me to kick on again. You know, I suck at negotiating. I don't want to spend a lot of money on my properties. I've been screwed over by agents. I'm constantly burnt out. You know, that's your typical landlord that, you know, wants to run everything themselves, dealing with all the tenants, doing all the viewings. You know, I feel like I run around like a headless chicken all day and I can't seem to find a way to focus on what I need to focus on. Most people on this call, that will probably resonate with you. If you're trying to do property alongside other jobs or other, you know, busy lives, that will probably resonate with most of you. I can't work on my business because I'm working so much in my business. I don't enjoy properties I have. That was me. I hated it. My tenants want so much, it's a drain on me. My mind is constantly running because of work, you know, yada, yada, yada. You know, you got to think about how people are thinking. You know, whenever I know we're going a bit too heavy on marketing here, but it's so important to scale them quickly, and there's not many, well, in fact, I don't think there's any courses out there, property courses, that teach marketing, apart from download the HMO register, send some letters out, and you'll get a response. It's so dinosaur, it's so old school, So, but have you, when you're scrolling through Facebook, something jumps out at you, and you read the text, and you think, fuck me, are they like listening to what I'm saying in my head? That is powerful marketing, because they've got the pain points, they've got the pleasure points, they've put them together, and they've drawn you in with a hook, and then they're reading your mind. When you can do that, whether you're doing it on a marketing piece, or whether you're on a viewing with a potential landlord or an estate agent, or you're in a meeting with an investor trying to get money, and you start opening up and start to talk about these pain points, they're thinking, bloody hell, is he reading my mind? And that's when you really start to connect, and they go, I need to work with this guy. I've got to give him my properties. I've got to give him my money. This guy knows what he's talking about. He knows exactly how I'm feeling. He's going to solve all my problems. When you start thinking like that, you start getting results. So in terms of your offer, basically you need to figure out, what the problem is that you're trying to solve. So, property is no different to any other game, and especially the rent-to-rent game. Figure out the problem that you're trying to solve. So what is the current situation of your potential client? What is their problem? What is your promise? So what can you help them go and get? What is the desired situation you can help them go and get? Hopefully you're starting to realize now, I've never once talked about what I can get out of this. Not once in the whole thing. So the, you've got to think about, well, just don't think about what you can get out of it, and you go a hell of a lot further. So form a process. So you need a process around, 3 to 6 major steps that you will do. I've got my magic 8, okay, but you could probably throw a few of them out and scale it down to 4 to 5 main ones. What is the process that I put around being able to offer X, Y, and Z? And then you've got your deliverables. So, mine's my magic 8, the ease of working with you, and that I will never, ever, ever pull out of a commitment. If I commit to something, I go through with it, always. And that in itself has served me well. I never, ever, ever, during COVID, I did not ring one person and say, oh, please can I have a discounted rent? Or please can I not pay rent this month? Because I'd made a promise to them prior to that. I got at least another 5 to 10 properties straight after COVID because of those promises that I'd made, and I upheld. Because guess what? The other people that made the promises didn't uphold them, so they were left high and dry with properties. So people were reaching out to me and saying, I hear you're standing on stuff, or I've been passed your number from X, Y, Z. And that is where your integrity comes into play. And as long as you honor what you say you're going to do, you will also scale quickly and get really good results. Finally, your price point. So you get your offer right, and you get your plan right, and it's the key to success. When value exceeds price, that's when people engage with you. And I hear it all the time, and sometimes even the office say, oh, I don't think this room's renting because we're too highly priced, or I don't think we're getting this place rented out because our nightly rate's too much. And it's total bollocks. Like, if you have a good value offer in your product, and you portray that value in your product, and you set it up, and you offer that value, you can charge what you want, within reason. Yeah, you got to be competitive, but you don't have to be the cheapest, because if you were the cheapest, then the cheapest would always do the best, and they don't. I say it all the time, like, someone will pay £100 for a Nike hoodie, which is pretty much the same material as a £10 hoodie from Sports Direct. But why? Because people buy into brand, they buy into value. They see more value wearing the Nike hoodie than they do wearing the £10 Sports Direct one. So, think about your offering, and think about what your, people will say, oh, well, landlords are going to go for the highest price. They're going to go for the highest rent. It's total bollocks. Total bollocks. If you sell the value in what you do and how it's going to benefit them, solve their problem, how your process is easy to work with, then they would quite happily sacrifice a few £100s a month to work with you, because it's not all about the price. You know, it's not all about the money. There's a lot more factors involved when you dig into someone's scenario: time, hassle, you know, maintenance issues, all that sort of stuff that you're going to say you're going to solve. So get your value right, get your price point right, and, you know, again, you'll move quickly, and you'll move quickly with profit, because you'll get the better deal. You'll get the better deal. So final step is, we're nearly there, and we'll come on to Q&A, but final step is about your pipeline. You know, I'm all about pipeline. If you want to scale quickly in the next 90 days, next 6 months, you've got to get your pipeline right. It's all about your pipeline. So don't create a fancy website. Websites do fuck all for property businesses, as far as I'm concerned. Don't call hundreds of agents every day. You don't need to be doing that, you know, and don't spam groups asking for deals or money, because you'll not get any, or you'll get very limited, or you definitely not get the better ones, that's for sure. You do not need to be doing that. And if you feel like you are doing that, then maybe just stop, reassess what you're doing, think about what we're talking about here, and try and do it a bit differently. You know, so I do it in a way that is, you know, inspirational story posts, client call out questions, two-step formula. So that gets results, and that is not spammy. It's giving value out to a target audience, and they then engage when they're good and ready. You know, I'm not forcing people to engage. They engage when they're good and ready. You know, I optimize my profile for the ideal client. So we're lead nurturing. So I'm constantly dropping stuff into their brains, you know, story posts, pain point posts, pleasure posts, value Facebook Lives, constantly in people's feeds, constantly in people's faces, so that when they're good and ready, they'll engage with me. I'm not trying to force them out. Every now and then I might drop a little offer with a call to action in there, but when they're good and ready, they'll contact me. So when you do, if you do want to join my tribe and you do want to work with me, what tends to happen is the first 2 weeks we have an enrollment sequence. So we have a 14-day new habit sequence, which is pretty much the fundamentals to breaking habits down, creating more time, and making sure that you're going to actually change the way you 10x your life. Because if you go after it in that way, you will get the results. But you've got to understand what you need to do and where you need to change. So the enrollment sequence starts with a deep dive call with myself, which normally lasts about an hour, and we cover everything. We get you consistent, we get you focused on action, give you some quick wins. So we've got some ways that we give you some quick wins so you get instant cash flow into your business and you can start picking up properties quickly. They give you a knowledge reset at times. So, you know, simplifying it down, not overwhelming you with information, just simplifying it down step-by-step way. Learn this, do this, learn this, do this. I'm all about implementation. So anybody that works with me will tell you I'm religious on number of viewings that you've got to go on. And, you know, and then it just becomes a very simple sort of put a post out there, speak to them in Messenger, get on a viewing. Put a post out there, speak to them in Messenger, get on a viewing, you know, and that happens daily if you do it right. And then post that, you know, what we then look at, you know, past the 2-week point is sort of how we can influence Facebook groups, how we can build key relationships, how we simplify our processes so that we can build systems, build good teams, and scale with diversification, but also scale quickly. And, you know, in terms of the content type that we put out there, you know, we've got our lead generation, which is kind of our networking, our Facebook group networking, and sometimes paid cold traffic ads. If we then have our lead nurturing content, which is kind of shifting people's beliefs. Quite often, more than not, you need to change a landlord's mindset that this is the way for them to do it, when maybe for 20 years they've been renting to AST tenants and they've been getting a guaranteed 500, 700 quid a month. You know, quite often you've got to change beliefs and you've got to overcome objections, and you do that with providing value. So all that wrapped into, again, more posts, more marketing, means that you're starting to tap into their brain and you're starting to shift them bit by bit. And when they're good and ready, they'll come over. But then we move into conversions, which is basically just moving people from messenger conversations into viewings, posts into messenger conversations into viewings, and just having a relentless, persistent follow-up. I cannot stress how important it is that you follow up. That has definitely got me, you know, I am so organized that nothing slips through the net. Whether it's whether it's, acquisitions, whether it's projects, whether it's, marketing, whether it's, sales, whatever it is. I'm constantly on people's cases. Just what's happening with this? Where are we at with that? What's happening with this? Where are we at with that? Just bumping this back at the top of your feed. Where are you at with this? What are we doing? Some of you might have been talking to us recently through Messenger or over the last few months. You'll notice that I'm constantly asking, how are you? What you doing? Because I'm relentless. I want to help, or I want to know the answers to where my projects are, or I want to make sure that things are going in the right directions. So by being relentless and persistent means that you get results. There's a difference between being a total dickhead and just being aggressive and pissing people off to doing it in the right way that is beneficial and adding value. So a few core objections. Money, it's not an issue if you build value. A belief in you, and you got to believe in your process. If you don't believe in your product, if you don't believe in your process, you'll never ever win anybody over. Money is not the issue, okay? If you build enough value, you can get as much discount as you want on the rent. I think I sent a voice note to my group about 3 months ago, which was me overcoming a landlord's objection that he was getting £800 a month, and I think I'd offered him £650. But then I clearly defined why my £650 is better than his £800 over the long term. And this guy has been renting that way for probably the thick end of 15 years. And he sent a note back just saying, totally makes sense. Let's do it. Send me the contract. So it's not about the money. It's not about the money. So the deals are out there and you can get the good deals. You've just got to know how to do it, believe in yourself, and add value into the other person's life. Lead nurture plus conversion. Final sort of thing for tonight for me is, if you want to start making some moves, do one live stream a week, document your journey, do Ask Me Anything, do training quite regularly on what you've learned. There's always someone behind you. There's always someone that needs your help. If you help people, you will start to attract more will come into your life the more you help people. That's just the way it is. What we are now, 8:41. So I've been here an hour and 10 minutes now for nothing. I'm doing it. I'm trying to help people because I know if I help enough people, then more will come into my life. So, do one email blast a week. You've got to build your business up with that. Get agents to qualify themselves. I've got some great hacks on how we can actually start working with the right estate agents rather than just blanket chucking shit at a wall, expecting something to stick. Do your conversion driving posts per week. Posts that get people to comment and engage, and and post your results. People like to see success. Your Facebook profile for me is your website. So show off what you're doing. People like to build trust and people like to see success. So